So as we were talking about before the break, Debbie Reynolds, it's being reported, was actually planning the funeral of her daughter when she had a stroke and passed away, and has led to a lot of questions. Can your emotional state be bad on your heart? And so I'm pleased to be joined on the Grip Tight Foundation Repair Newsmaker line by Dr. John Duncan. He's the CEO of ViaScan, a company that specializes in the early detection of heart problems and stroke risk. Dr. Duncan, thanks for joining me today. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine, Jeff. Thank you for having me on.
So let me ask you the obvious question. A lot of time in the aftermath of Debbie Reynolds' death, a couple of her relatives said that she just wanted to be with her daughter. And so is it possible for your emotional state to affect your health, particularly your heart health?
Well, we certainly have medical science and literature to indicate that it certainly does. So there was a couple that were married for over 60 years in Tennessee that was reported last year that they were very advanced age and they had many health problems, and both of them were hospitalized in hospital beds right beside each other, and they held hands and they passed away simultaneously. So these kind of things do happen when you have emotional stressful events. It triggers stress hormones, and these stress hormones in your body have a number of biological impacts that could culminate in either heart attacks or strokes that Debbie Reynolds experienced.
Yeah, I think that's a great example, that story of that Tennessee couple, Dr. Duncan. And so you actually can see some physical effects from the stress or unhappiness that's going on in your life.
Oh, without question. You know, our bodies are composed of mind, body, and spirit. So
yeah.
It shouldn't come as a surprise that when you have emotional stimuli, it affects your heart rate, your blood pressure, your respiration, you know, everything physically in your body. So, you know, we're all connected. And when we have these very traumatic life experiences, then it can translate to physical health problems.
So let me ask you, Dr. Duncan, obviously I can't say to someone, you know, don't be extremely sad in these extreme instances, but overall, do you talk to people about how your emotional state in life does affect your health?
Every day we talk about it, because when we're talking about health, it's not some generic term. We want emotional health, we want physical health, we want health overall in our bodies so that we live well. Just like when people are depressed, it's not confined to a mental health problem. It usually manifests itself with heart problems and blood pressure problems and all sorts of other things. So we tell people to be healthy overall and to have a good lifestyle that includes waking up every morning and thinking healthy. That would mean that you would have the thought, I'm going to eat healthy today. I'm going to eat less so I don't gain weight. Body weight is so important to your health. So I'm going to eat the proper amount of calories to fuel my body, but not overeat to where I gain weight. And I'm going to be physically active, because those three things will transcend health from an emotional, from a physical, and a spiritual perspective.
Yeah, Dr. Duncan, I think that's such a great point, because obviously we can't protect ourselves from bad things happening in our lives, but it sounds to me like what you're saying is there are preventive strategies to help us walk through those tough parts of our life.
Well, that's exactly right, Jeff. And if we all plan that in 2017 and really make a resolution that if your listeners will do one simple thing, if they don't assume what their health is. I encounter people every day. I'll ask them, how's your health? And invariably they'll say, it's fine. And then I'll retort back, well, how do you know? And their answer almost always is, I feel fine. To which I reply, everyone that had a heart attack right before, minutes before they had a fatal heart attack, felt fine. So one cannot assume about your health. So if there's one thing that we all should do is go in for a simple heart scan that takes about 30 seconds to hold your breath. It costs a few $100s. It's inexpensive, but it can make the difference between how long and how well you live, because we can see this plaque in your heart that was a hidden enemy with other tests until it got very advanced. Now we can see it when it's very tiny, when we can treat it and keep it from growing and threatening your life.
And Dr. Duncan, is there a particular age group that ought to be thinking this way, or is this all age groups? Because we often say when we're talking about staying healthy, okay, after the age of 50, you need to do this. In your 40s, you ought to do this. Are you targeting a specific age group when you're talking about that, or should everyone get their heart checked here and there?
Jeff, that's an excellent question, and the answer is that the medical science tends to suggest that men when they're age 40, women about age 45, that have a family history of heart problems, or they personally have cholesterol or blood pressure, or diabetic, or they're overweight, or they use tobacco, those are the ideal candidates to get this preventive heart scan to see if they harbor this plaque when it's small and treatable to prevent heart attacks before they ever occur.
Now, you just raised a great point, Dr. Duncan, because this actually happened in my life. My sister this year had a heart scan. They did find a little bit of a blockage, but it was treatable. I think that some people believe, okay, they're going to come, I'm going to go in, they're going to find something wrong, and that's going to lead to major surgery or something major happening. And I think what you're saying, Dr. Duncan, is if you can pick it up early enough, the major stuff doesn't have to happen, correct?
Jeff, that's absolutely correct. The people that I see every day, 98% of them, we find this plaque when it's minuscule, millimeters before it's going to, be large. It's pretty unusual that when the people we see daily have so much massive amount of plaques that go from our scan to the operating room for bypass or stent.
Mm-hmm.
That's a common thought, but it rarely happens.
So I think one big piece overall advice, especially if you're in your 40s, Dr. Duncan, 2017, resolve to get your heart checked, even if you're, quotation fingers being used here, feeling fine.
Well, that's right, because, Jeff, we don't have preventive symptoms. At a time, prevention is about finding it early when treatment can stop and interfere with this natural history of getting larger and getting worse or spreading through your body in the case of cancer. We all know that it's way better to find something early and treat it. We have better outcomes. You live longer and you live better. So I would say that no matter how you feel, if you're of the ages that we talked about and have any of those risk factors, it's a good idea for everyone to have one of these heart scans.
Dr. John Duncan, CEO of ViaScan, that is a company that specializes in the early detection of heart problems and stroke risk. Dr. Duncan, Happy New Year to you. Thanks for some very valuable information.
Jeff.
I appreciate that very much. It's good information as we head into 2017.